You see, the great illusion we tend to live by is that life is always about to begin, that something grand waits just around the bend, a moment, an opportunity, a permission, a perfect alignment. And so we keep rehearsing in our minds for a future performance, as if today were merely a practice round for some real event that has not yet arrived. But the grand cosmic joke is this: there is no later performance. There is no dress rehearsal. This, right here, right now, this is your moment. The curtain is already up, the lights are on, and the audience is you and God and the entire universe witnessing your being. And if you could only see that, if you could truly feel that, you would no longer wait, you wouldn't ask if you were ready, you wouldn't wonder if you were good enough or if you'd earned your place. You'd simply begin. Because acting as if this is your time is not about arrogance or pretense. It is about awareness, a deep and trembling awareness that this moment, fleeting and unpromised, is more sacred than any imagined future. We've all been trained to postpone our living, to believe that first we must become something other than what we are. We must fix ourselves, perfect our image, gather credentials, or receive blessings from someone greater than ourselves before we can finally be who we came here to be. But that's not how life works. Trees do not ask permission to bloom. Stars do not hold back their light until they feel worthy. And the river does not check the calendar before it begins to flow. It simply flows. It exists. And in that existence, it fulfills its purpose. You too are here to exist, to express. Not in some future date when you've tidied up the imperfections of your soul, but now, in this exact configuration of who you are. You are not lacking time. You are drowning in it only because you're convinced that the tide will carry you somewhere better than here. But there is no better here than here. You were not born to wait. You were born to awaken to the deep truth that your life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And you cannot live that mystery by deferring it. To act as if this is your time is to realize that it has always been your time. It was your time when you fell. It was your time when you failed. It was your time when you didn't believe it. And it's your time even now, especially now. When something in your chest stirs and wonders, could this really be true? Yes, it could, and it is. Time, after all, is not something you own or possess. It is something you are. You are time made conscious. You are the present personified. And so to postpone yourself is to deny the very essence of your being. You're not here to build up to life. You're here to live it. Fully, recklessly, beautifully. Not with carelessness, but with carefreeness. With the audacity to say, I will not die with my song still inside me. When you live as if this is your time, something miraculous begins to happen. Life starts to respond to you, not as a hesitant participant, but as a confident creator. You begin to notice the synchronicities that were always there, but you were too preoccupied with your doubt to see them. You begin to notice the way your presence changes a room, not because you're special in an egoic sense, but because you're here fully, unapologetically present. You see, the magic of living is not in getting more time. It's in dissolving the illusion that you need more of it. Life doesn't wait for your permission. It dances. And you can either join the dance or sit by the wall waiting for someone to invite you. But no one will, because you are the invitation. You are the guest of honor at your own life, and the celebration has already begun. To act as if this is your time is to trust that you belong. Not later, not once you've earned it, but now. It is to speak your truth, to take your step, to breathe fully into the present, with no rehearsals left. Because no matter what your mind tells you, this is not a trial run, this is not the prologue, this is the page with your name on it. This is the moment the ink meets the paper. This is the heartbeat of destiny aligning with your own. So stop waiting. Stop seeking approval from a world that doesn't even know what it's waiting for. The clock won't chime in recognition. The sky won't open in applause. But deep within, if you're still enough, you'll feel the universe whisper, "You're right on time." We spend so much of our lives under the impression that something greater is just ahead of us, that a more perfect moment will arrive, and in that elusive future we will finally begin to live as we were meant to. It's a compelling illusion. The sense that we are in a constant state of preparation, refining ourselves, waiting for some internal or external signal that will announce, now is the time. But that signal never comes, not because it isn't real, but because it has already sounded. It sounded the moment you took your first breath. The moment you became aware of yourself in the world, time began not as something linear, not as something you chase, but as something you are. The tragedy lies in the waiting. We delay our dreams, we withhold our voice, and we dim our light out of the belief that today is not quite worthy of our full presence. We treat this moment like a stepping stone to something better, something more meaningful, more rewarding, more prepared. But what if this moment, imperfect as it is, uncertain as it feels, is already holy? What if you didn't need to upgrade yourself, heal more, earn more, or be more in order to begin? What if you stopped rehearsing for your life and simply lived it? You see, the problem is not that we are unprepared. The problem is that we are caught in a myth that whispers that life is always about to begin, and that this moment, this ordinary moment, is somehow not enough. We have been trained to undervalue the present, to believe that tomorrow is where fulfillment hides. And so we postpone our joy, our courage, our purpose, until the planets align, until we feel confident, until the fear disappears. But the truth is, fear never truly leaves you. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build by stepping into the moment. And the planets? They've already aligned the second you decided to breathe deeply and be here now. Every day you are given 1,000 chances to act as if this is your time. Yet so often you give those chances away. You hesitate to speak up because you assume your voice isn't yet powerful enough. You hesitate to start that project because you believe there's more research to be done. You hold back from love, from creativity, from expression, because you've convinced yourself that the stage isn't ready. But the truth is, the stage has always been set. You are the one delaying the performance. Not because you aren't capable, but because you've forgotten that this isn't a practice round. This is it. This is the show. Imagine a flower refusing to bloom until it believed it had permission. Imagine the sun withholding its light until it felt accepted. It would seem absurd, wouldn't it? And yet that is how many people live, holding back their light, their bloom, because they're waiting for some signal that may never come. Life doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for presence. It asks for participation. It asks for you to realize that this moment, messy and unpolished, is more than enough. It is everything. There is no greater agony than the regret of unused potential, not because you weren't good enough, but because you didn't trust the timing of your own soul. You postponed your brilliance, waiting for a mythic sign, when all along the sign was your own heartbeat. The simple fact that you are alive is proof that this is your time. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. This is not to say that preparation, growth, or reflection are unimportant. They have their place. But there comes a moment when preparation becomes avoidance, when growth becomes an excuse, when reflecting becomes a distraction. You do not become who you are by waiting. You become who you are by doing, by stepping into the unknown with trembling hands and an open heart, knowing full well that imperfection will greet you. But so will life, so will joy, so will truth. To act as if this is your time is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of reverence, a deep bow to the sacredness of now. It's acknowledging that while you may not have everything figured out, you have enough to begin. And beginning is the most courageous act of all, because it breaks the spell of inertia. It disrupts the cycle of waiting. It reclaims the power that has always belonged to you. People often say, "I'm not ready." But who decides readiness? Who is the authority on the perfect moment? The world won't send you an invitation. The universe doesn't hand out schedules with your destiny printed on them. Your readiness isn't measured by your perfection. It's measured by your willingness. And willingness only exists in the now, not in the later, not in the maybe, in this very breath. So look around. This moment may not be glamorous. It may be quiet. You may feel unseen, uncertain, or overwhelmed. But this is still your moment. The world may not clap, no one may notice, but that doesn't matter, because you'll know, you'll feel the quiet thrill of finally stepping into yourself. You'll feel the gentle power of no longer deferring your existence. You'll feel the soul-deep truth that you didn't have to wait after all. The great irony is that once you begin, once you decide to act as if this is your time, life begins to meet you where you are. Doors open. People appear. Energy returns. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You no longer stood outside of your life. You stepped into it. And that changes everything. This is your time. It always was. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are finally present. You're finally saying yes to what already is. And that yes, that sacred, trembling yes, is the most powerful thing you can ever give to the world. Time is often seen as something we chase, something that slips through our fingers like grains of sand, something outside of us that we are constantly trying to manage, control, and capture. But this is a misunderstanding. Time is not a force that moves around you. It is not a river you are standing beside, watching it flow. You are not separate from time. Your very being, your thoughts, your awareness of this moment, your breath, your heartbeat. This is why the idea of waiting for the right time is so deceptive. You can't wait for what you already are. You can't be separate from what is fundamentally interwoven into the fabric of your existence. When people say they are waiting for the right time to start something meaningful, to pursue a dream, speak their truth, or become who they feel they're meant to be, they're unknowingly placing themselves in opposition to their own nature. They treat time like a gatekeeper, a judge, or a distant authority that will one day permit them to live freely. But time is not outside of you, giving you permission. It is within you, begging for your participation. Imagine the absurdity of a flame waiting for fire, or a wave waiting for the ocean. That's how strange it is to believe you must wait for time to begin. You are not waiting for your moment. You are the moment. Every cell in your body pulses with the rhythm of now. Every breath you take is a declaration that the universe is happening through you, not apart from you. The second you stop seeing time as a condition and start seeing it as a state of being, your entire experience of life changes. You begin to understand that you carry the power of the present with you wherever you go. We often get caught in the trap of measuring time by clocks and calendars, as if a number or a date holds more truth than our own awareness. But clocks are just instruments, tools we've created to organize ourselves. They don't measure meaning. They don't measure readiness. They can't tell you when your soul is ready to speak, to create, to rise. Only your awareness can do that. And when you truly feel into the present moment, without resistance, without running, you realize that you are not late. You never were, because time is not passing you by. It's unfolding. As it is unfolding, what would happen if you let go of the idea that time is running out? What would change if you stopped seeing yourself as a bystander in your own life? You would begin to live with a depth you've never touched before. You would stop measuring your worth by what you've accomplished and start seeing your presence as inherently meaningful. You would understand that nothing outside of you needs to happen before you begin. The beginning is in your breath. Most of us don't realize how much of our energy is spent in a tug-of-war with time. We regret the past. We fear the future. We live in the shadow of what was, or in the anxiety of what could be. And in doing so, we miss the miracle of what is, that the present is not empty. It is not a blank space between memories and plans. It is the most alive place you can possibly be. And when you inhabit it fully, you no longer need to chase time, because you realize you are. You are the unfolding, you are the movement, you are the dance. There is no need to hurry when you are already where you're meant to be. There is no need to panic when you realize that the moment you've been searching for is the one you're already in. This doesn't mean you stop growing or that you give up on change. It means you stop believing that you're separate from the process. Growth happens now, not in the future. Joy happens now, not when everything is perfect. Healing happens now, not when the pain disappears. It's all happening now because now is all there is. This understanding doesn't come from thinking. It comes from being. From quieting the frantic mind long enough to hear the deeper rhythm underneath all the noise. That rhythm is not chaotic. It's not rushed. It's not overwhelmed. It is spacious, eternal, and gentle. It doesn't demand that you rush to prove yourself. It simply asks you to remember. Remember that you're not a separate being trying to survive time. You are the awareness through which time flows. And that awareness is timeless. When you step into this knowing, a profound shift occurs. You stop waiting. You stop postponing your joy, your truth, your expression. You realize that you don't need to get somewhere else to be whole. You are whole in this breath. You are complete in this presence. You are not preparing to be alive. You are alive. And life is not asking you to do more, achieve more, or become more in order to earn your place. Life is simply asking you to show up, to be here, to be you. And when you do, you will see that the timing was always right. That the moment you feared you weren't enough was the moment you already had everything. That the waiting was a dream, and waking up was just a matter of seeing clearly. You don't need more time, you need more presence. You don't need the future to bring you what you seek. You need to realize that the source of all you long for is within you. Now, because time isn't ticking toward your destiny, it's radiating from your being. So the next time you hear yourself say, "It's not the right time," pause. Ask yourself, who taught me that time is something I must earn? Who told me I had to wait? And then return to yourself. Feel your breath, feel your aliveness, and realize you are not late. You are not early. You are not outside the flow. You are the flow. You are not chasing time. Time is beating through your heart. This is not a countdown. It's a calling. And the call is simple. Be here. Be now. Be you. The idea that we must feel ready before we take action is one of the greatest lies we unconsciously live by. It sounds reasonable, even wise, to prepare, to wait until you're certain, until you feel strong, until fear has subsided and clarity has fully arrived. But readiness is a mirage. It shimmers in the distance, promising comfort and confidence, yet the closer you try to get to it, the more it vanishes. You begin to realize that it was never meant to be caught. It was only ever a projection, a mental trick designed to keep you safe in your familiar discomfort. You think you'll start once you're sure. You'll speak once your voice no longer shakes. You'll begin once the path is clear, once you feel brave. But what if that moment never comes? What if the strength you're waiting for isn't something that shows up before the action, but something that awakens because of it? The illusion of readiness has kept more people stagnant than failure ever has. People don't get stuck because they try and fall. They get stuck because they never actually listen to it. You've had the one, you've actually had it. They're in something. They're in it. They're in something that makes it wrong. They feel it, perceive it as such by themselves. And yet, the truth is, fear is not a signal to stop. It's often a sign we're standing on the threshold of growth. The trembling of the soul before a new beginning is not weakness. It is sacred. It means you care. It means you're stepping out of your comfort zone and into the unknown. And the unknown is where all transformation lives. You do not become who you're meant to be by avoiding uncertainty. You become by walking through it with your eyes open and your heart alive. The illusion of readiness is rooted in the mistaken belief that life owes us certainty, that we will somehow know without a shadow of a doubt when it is time to leap. But life doesn't operate on guarantees. It moves through trust, not logic, through surrender, not control. You can study every angle, weigh every risk, gather every piece of information, and still feel unprepared. Relax. That's the first thing the universe wants from you. Not effort, not strain, not this desperate clawing at life's doors, just stillness, just presence, just you being you. You see all this running, this chasing, this need to make it happen, it's noise. And in that noise, we lose the subtle whispers of the cosmos trying to show us another way. The universe, in its grand design, does not strive. The tree does not push the leaves out. The sun does not scream to rise. The rivers do not argue their flow. And yet everything gets done, life unfolds. Seasons change, flowers bloom, not with effort, but with alignment. And so it is with you. The more you try to grab at life, the more it slips between your fingers like sand. But if you allow, truly allow, life begins to move toward you, not away from you. You've been taught that to succeed, to have love, to find purpose, you must work harder, strive more, burn out before you break through. But the truth is almost the opposite. The more you strain, the more you interfere with the natural rhythm that's already trying to deliver what you've been asking for. You are a part of the universe, not separate from it. When you relax into your own being, you tune yourself to the same frequency as the things you desire. You become a receiver, not a struggler. Imagine for a moment the ocean. If you fight the waves, you drown. But if you float, if you allow, the same water carries you. That's the dance. That's the way. When you let go of the idea that you must control everything, the universe reveals that it was already working in your favor. If only you'd stop getting in the way. This doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you stop doing what's unnecessary. You stop the endless inner resistance. You stop the fear. You stop the noise. And in that silence, something remarkable happens. Ideas begin to appear. Synchronicities align. People show up. Opportunities arrive. Not because you forced them, but because you invited them. By being in harmony with what is. It's not about laziness, it's about trust. Deep, deep trust that life knows what it's doing. And so the more you relax, the more you realize you don't have to beg for love, you are love. You don't have to chase success, you are aligned with it. You don't have to prove your worth, you are already worthy. When you drop the effort, what remains is presence. And in presence, you begin to see just how magnetic you are. When you're not pretending, not performing, not pushing. All things, joy, abundance, peace, are not found through stress. They arise in stillness. You are not here to be a machine. You are here to remember the effortless grace that brought you into being, the pulse of the universe that beats through your chest. When you walk in sync with that rhythm, miracles no longer surprise you. They become normal. So breathe. Sit back, not in apathy but in awareness, not in avoidance but in trust. Let go of the illusion that you must hold the stars in place. They were shining long before you arrived, and they will keep shining, guiding you, reminding you that life is not about the chase, it's about the calm knowing that what is yours will find you. Not because you ran after it, but because you stopped long enough to receive it. You see, the great illusion that most people live under is this idea that if they just try hard enough, if they control every variable, calculate every step, manage every person and every outcome, then somehow they'll arrive at happiness or peace or fulfillment. But the paradox is this: the more we grip life, the more it resists us. The more we try to force the river to flow in a direction we've chosen, the more it pushes back and reminds us that we are not in control. The root of our anxiety, our tension, our endless exhaustion is not that we're doing too little. It's that we're trying to do what was never ours to do in the first place. Control is a form of fear disguised as responsibility. We control because we are afraid of uncertainty, afraid of outcomes we didn't plan, afraid of being surprised. And so we wrap our minds in rigid plans and our hearts in tight expectations. But what if I told you that control is the very thing standing between you and the life you deeply desire? That the universe doesn't need your control. It needs your cooperation. It needs your alignment. To align with life is to let go of the illusion that you are separate from it. You are not an observer of nature. You are nature. You are not something the universe created and then left alone. You are a living expression of it, a strand in the grand tapestry. So when you seek to control life, it's like a wave trying to command the ocean, a leaf trying to steer the wind. The beauty is not in controlling it, but in moving with it, bending with it, dancing with it. Letting go is not about carelessness, it's about trust. Deep, unshakable trust that there is a current already carrying you if you would only stop paddling so frantically in the wrong direction. When you let go of control, you don't fall, you float. Because the very thing you feared would hurt you, the thing you tried to manage into submission, is actually the very force that wants to lift you up, if only you'd surrender. This doesn't mean you stop making choices. It means you make choices from a place of clarity rather than compulsion, from peace, not panic. When you align, you begin to feel the difference between forcing and flowing. You begin to recognize that when something is meant for you, it doesn't have to be chased or manipulated. It arrives with a natural ease. And when it doesn't, no amount of control will make it stay. Look around you. Everything in nature is governed by balance, not by force. The seasons do not argue about when to arrive. The tides do not panic over when to retreat. The sun does not rush to rise, nor does the moon delay its glow. All of it operates in divine synchronicity because it is aligned with the source of its being. And you are no different. But you've been taught to mistrust the rhythm of life, to believe that if you aren't pushing, then nothing is happening. That if you aren't busy, you're failing. That rest is weakness and surrender is defeat. But real power, the kind that cannot be taken from you, comes from alignment, from being so deeply in tune with life that your very presence becomes a channel through which the universe can work. It's not about passivity. It's about allowing yourself to become available to what is already seeking you. When you align with life, you become magnetic, not because you demand attention, but because you no longer need it. Your peace becomes your power. Your trust becomes your attraction. The truth is, life has always been trying to give you what you ask for, but control creates static. It muddies the signal. It clutters the path. You say you want love, but you try to script every conversation and force affection. You say you want success, but you micromanage every detail and burn out before you begin. You say you want peace, but you worry about everything you cannot influence, and so the gifts meant for you get lost in the noise of your effort. Letting go is not a one-time act. It is a moment-by-moment practice, a daily decision to release your grip on what you think should be happening and to open yourself to what is. It is to say, I trust that I am not alone in this. I trust that the same force that keeps the planet spinning and the trees growing and the tides moving also cares about me. And that kind of trust is not weakness. It is the foundation of true spiritual strength. When you surrender the need to control, you discover that life actually starts working for you in ways you never imagined. Doors open you didn't knock on. People appear who feel like answers to unspoken prayers. Synchronicities align not because you chased them, but because you became receptive. You entered into harmony with the rhythm of the universe. And harmony doesn't require effort. It only requires presence. The more you relax into the moment, the more you discover that everything you've been searching for is already here. Not waiting in some distant future to be earned, but pulsing through the now, waiting to be seen. And it's often not more doing that's required, but more noticing, more feeling, more being. Because alignment is not a strategy. It is a state of being. It is the art of remembering that you are already a part of the infinite, and the infinite lacks nothing. So you too lack nothing. Letting go of control is how you say to the universe, I remember who I am. And when you remember who you are, not the roles you play, not the masks you wear, not the fears you feed, that the essence underneath it all, then life rushes in to meet you there. Not because you demanded it, but because you were finally still enough to receive it. Presence is a word we hear often, yet rarely do we understand its full power. To be present isn't just to sit quietly or to put your phone down for a while. Presence is a state of being where your attention is so fully immersed in the moment that time almost bends around you. It's not an activity, it's a frequency. And in that frequency, something miraculous begins to happen. Life responds. Not because you're trying to make it respond, but because you finally stop long enough to become aware of how much was already trying to meet you. You've been taught that pressure is the price of progress. That if you aren't constantly pushing, proving, grinding, or hustling, you'll fall behind. But this is an illusion. A deeply woven lie that keeps people trapped in a cycle of endless noise and self-doubt. When you observe closely, you'll find that many people are working so hard, not because they're inspired, but because they're afraid. Afraid of what will happen if they stop. Afraid that slowing down means failure. Afraid that being still makes them unworthy. But here's the great paradox. When you become fully present, when you stop rushing and striving, you become magnetic. Not to everyone, but to what is meant for you. Presence is attractive because it radiates confidence, not the loud kind that boasts or demands attention, but the quiet, steady kind that says, I am enough. And that kind of presence is rare. Most people are scattered, mentally in 1,000 places, emotionally weighed down by what has been or what might come. But presence is powerful precisely because it is rare. It is a signal to the universe that you are open, awake, and ready to receive, not out of desperation, but out of knowing. When you are fully present, you stop arguing with the past and stop bargaining with the future. You become aligned with now. And now is the only place where anything truly happens. Think about the times in your life when you've felt the most alive, the most connected, the most inspired. Chances are you weren't thinking about your to-do list or worrying about what someone thought of you. You were immersed. You were there. And that there-ness, that grounded awareness, is the very essence of presence. It's what the universe responds to. Not your stress, not your strategies, not your fears, but your awareness, your attention, your availability to the richness of the moment. Notice the details, the way the sunlight moves across the wall, the way a stranger's eyes hold a story, the way your breath connects you to something larger. And in that noticing, you begin to realize that you were never waiting for life to happen. Life was waiting for you to arrive. Presence quiets the mind. It silences the inner critic. It dissolves the illusion that you have to be anywhere other than here to be okay. It removes the need to justify your existence through constant productivity. And when that noise fades, you hear the subtle wisdom of your own soul, nudging you, guiding you, whispering the next step without anxiety or fear. That is the space where creativity lives. That is the space where intuition speaks. And that is the space where everything you've been seeking begins to find its way to you, not through force, but through resonance. The universe doesn't speak the language of force, it speaks the language of energy. And presence is the clearest energy there is. When you are present, you are not fractured by your past or forecasted into your future. You are whole. And that wholeness draws in experiences, people, and opportunities that match your frequency. That is why people often say that when they finally let go, everything started working, because in that release, they stepped into presence. And presence is not passive. It is dynamic. It is where real power lives. Not the power that controls, but the power that creates. To be present is to trust. To trust that you don't need to force a moment to matter. That you don't need to chase what's already making its way to you. That the most important thing you can do is to show up fully, honestly, and vulnerably, right here, right now. Because this moment, in all its simplicity, holds the seed of transformation. But you have to be here to notice it. You have to stop distracting yourself long enough to feel it. And that takes courage. Because presence means facing yourself. It means not numbing, not escaping, not performing, just being. And that kind of being is radical in a world obsessed with doing. It is in presence that you discover your true value, not based on how much you produce or how much you impress others, but based on how deeply you can connect with the moment, with yourself, with life. And that connection begins to ripple outward. People feel it. Circumstances shift. Doors open. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy finally matched what you were asking for. That is the magic of presence. It doesn't make things happen. It allows them to happen. You begin to see that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be experienced. Not a mountain to be conquered, but a path to be walked with awareness. The answers you seek don't live in the noise of effort. They live in the stillness of attention. And every time you return to presence, you align with the intelligence that created the stars and orchestrates the tides. You begin to walk with the rhythm of the universe, not against it. And in that rhythm you find ease, you find grace. You find that less isn't lack, it's clarity, it's depth, it's power. So presence isn't a luxury. It's not something you do when everything else is done. It's the very gateway to everything you want. To be present is to be powerful, not because you dominate, but because you no longer need to. And in that space of stillness, of calm awareness, you realize something beautiful. You were never behind. You were just being called to slow down enough to meet your life exactly where it is, and in doing so to allow it to unfold with a wisdom far greater than anything you could have forced into place. There is something deeply misunderstood in the way we engage with the world. Most people are taught to fight their way through life, to resist anything that stands in their path, to overcome every challenge by sheer force. They are told that if something doesn't bend to their will, it means they must push harder, speak louder, try more aggressively until it does. But what they never realize is that this constant resistance only creates more friction, more struggle, and more of what they are trying to escape. They are fighting shadows, exhausting themselves in a battle against the very nature of life. And in that struggle, they miss the quiet truth that what you resist persists, and what you allow transforms. Resistance is tension. It's a closed door. It's the tightening of your body, the clenching of your thoughts, the rigidity of your heart. It is the internal declaration that this moment is wrong, or this situation should not be happening. And in doing so, you position yourself in opposition to reality. You stand against the flow. And in that stance, you become a dam against the river. You block the very energy you need to heal, to grow, to move forward. But non-resistance is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the knowing that when you soften, when you stop trying to control everything, life begins to move again. So many people carry their pain like armor, believing that if they let go of the fight, they will lose themselves. But the fight is the illusion. The real you is underneath all that noise. When you let go of resistance, you give life permission to show you another way. You begin to see that much of what you were struggling with was not even the situation itself. It was your judgment of it, your fear of it, your refusal to allow it to simply be. Non-resistance is not about liking everything. It's about accepting that everything belongs, that even the unwanted moments carry wisdom you may not yet understand. Think of the wind. If you stand rigid against it, it beats you down. But if you lean into it, if you dance with it, it carries you. The same is true of every challenge in life. When you resist, you create a wall that isolates you from the lesson. But when you allow, even if just a little, you open a window for grace to enter. You begin to feel less like a victim and more like a witness, watching life unfold without needing to control its every turn. That shift in perspective is liberation. Non-resistance doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become aligned. You stop wasting energy trying to change what is, and instead you use that energy to transform yourself. You ask, what is this moment here to teach me, rather than how do I escape it? And in that question, you open yourself to revelation. You begin to understand that every emotion, even the uncomfortable ones, are messengers, not enemies. They don't need to be silenced, they need to be seen. Most people avoid pain because they fear it will consume them. But the truth is, pain only becomes destructive when it is resisted. When you allow yourself to feel fully, to breathe through it, to sit in its presence without judgment, something miraculous happens. It begins to pass. It changes form, it teaches you, and then it leaves. Like a wave, it rises and it falls. But when you resist it, you trap it inside. You carry it for years, sometimes for a lifetime, because you never gave it space to move through you. Life is not trying to hurt you. It is trying to wake you up. But if you meet every lesson with a closed heart and a clenched mind, you will miss the beauty in the discomfort. You will turn every transition into trauma, every change into catastrophe, because you are unwilling to release your grip on how things should be. And in that grip, you become blind to how things could be, how they are meant to be. When you release resistance, you release suffering. Not because your circumstances immediately change, but because you change. You become softer, quieter, more observant. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop defending and start listening. You begin to see patterns, synchronicities, the gentle nudges of the universe guiding you towards something better. Not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. Energy flows where attention goes, and when your attention is fixated on what's wrong, you energize it. You feed the very thing you want to go away. But when you shift your focus to acceptance, to peace, to openness, you begin to attract what reflects that state of being. People speak of manifesting abundance, love, or peace, but forget that you cannot manifest from resistance. You manifest from resonance. You manifest from, and resonance happens when you let go of the inner war. Imagine for a moment that your life is a garden. Resistance is like pulling on the stems, hoping the flowers will grow faster. But what happens? You damage them. You uproot them. You destroy what you're trying to create. Non-resistance is tending the soil, giving it light, giving it water, trusting that the bloom will come in its time. You don't yell at the seed. You don't panic when the sprout takes longer than expected. You trust the process because nature has its rhythm. And so do you. When you live in non-resistance, you begin to see the divine intelligence behind every experience, even the ones that break you, even the ones that confuse you. You stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this shaping me into? And that shift in consciousness is not small. It is everything. It turns pain into power. It turns waiting into preparation. It turns loss into clarity. But only when you stop resisting what life is trying to teach you. The truth is, the more you fight, the more you delay the healing, the more you control, the more you miss the unfolding. The more you resist, the more you struggle. And so the invitation is simple, but not always easy. Let go. Not of your desires, not of your dreams, but of your need to fight your way there. Relax into the becoming. Trust the unfolding. Step back just enough to let life show you how much easier it can be when you stop pushing and start allowing. And when you do, you'll notice something subtle yet profound. The very things you were chasing begin to chase you. The love you were begging for finds its way to your door. The peace you thought required isolation begins to bloom within you. The opportunities you strained for start appearing without warning, because in your stillness you became available, and that availability, pure, unresisting, calm, is the most powerful force in the universe. There is something profoundly liberating about remembering that you were never broken, never missing anything essential, never meant to become someone else in order to be worthy. The entire illusion of self-improvement, this race to become more, to fix ourselves, to chase wholeness as if it lives somewhere outside of us, is built on the false belief that you are lacking. But what if, instead, your natural state is abundance, not abundance as in material wealth or constant pleasure, but abundance as a state of being where nothing is missing and everything unfolds from within? You were not born to earn your worth. You were born as a living, breathing manifestation of it. The tragedy is that people are taught to forget this. From the moment you take your first breath, the world begins telling you who to be. Be good, be useful, be productive, be pleasing. And slowly, piece by piece, you trade your natural ease for the approval of others. You learn that your value is conditional, measured by what you produce, how hard you try, how much you sacrifice. You begin to wear effort like a badge of honor, believing that struggle is the path to success and that burnout is somehow proof of devotion. But your soul knows better. It whispers to you in moments of stillness, in moments when you're too tired to pretend, that all this striving is not the answer, because what you're searching for is not out there, it's already inside you. Abundance is not something you chase, it's something you uncover. It's not a prize at the end of the path. It is the path. When walked with awareness, when you remove the noise, the masks, the fears, what remains is the raw presence of being. And in that presence, you realize you've been whole all along. You've been enough, not because you met some external standard, but because your very existence is sacred. Life does not create in lack. Every tree, every ocean, every star in the sky is evidence that the universe expresses itself in fullness. You, too, are part of that expression. But when you forget your nature, you start living like a beggar in your own kingdom. You shrink. You settle. You strive endlessly for what could already be yours, if only you'd return to yourself. It's not about doing more. It's about remembering more. Remembering that your intuition is not a mistake, that your inner voice is not naive, that your joy is not a distraction, but a compass. You've been conditioned to believe that seriousness is strength, that tension equals importance, and that ease is lazy. But this is a distortion of truth, because when you are in alignment with your natural state, things do become easier, not because they lack value, but because you've removed the friction of pretending. When you allow yourself to rest in your own being, to stop apologizing for your existence, a deep clarity begins to emerge. You no longer seek permission to be. You no longer try to earn love that is freely given by the universe itself. You no longer confuse exhaustion with virtue. Instead, you begin to live from a place of inner sufficiency, from the knowledge that what you are is already more than enough. And from this place, your desires shift. You no longer want to impress, you want to express. You no longer need to prove, you want to serve. You stop grasping and start radiating. And in that radiance, life responds, not out of pity, but out of resonance. Abundance is not just about having, it's about being. It's the calm assurance that you belong here, that you are supported, not because you control every detail, but because you are in tune with the greater intelligence that orchestrates all things. You see it in nature all the time, the way birds find food, the way rivers find the sea, the way seeds bloom without stress. That same intelligence lives in you, but you can't access it while in a state of fear, doubt, or self-rejection. You access it when you stop trying to become and allow yourself to be. You've been told to work hard to be abundant, but the truth is, abundance works through you when you relax into your truth, when you stop pretending to be small, stop fearing your own light, stop doubting that life can be beautiful without